As I promised, in this video today we will analyze Ethereum following Bitcoin. So let's get straight to the chart. What do we see? These are weekly candles. We can see that, just like with Bitcoin, the week before last we had a bearish engulfing pattern. That is, the red falling candle engulfed 2 weeks of growth and 2 weeks of sideways movement at once. Strictly speaking, in fact, only 1 week was actually a week of growth, because this week starting April 20th did not set a new high and essentially represented sideways movement, which lasted for 3 weeks. Accordingly, last week we dropped lower, setting a new low and closing the weekly candle even lower, which means there is every chance that the downward movement will continue. Also, from a technical analysis perspective, what happened? What happened was that all the moving averages were broken from top to bottom, and the nearest average, namely the 200-week moving average, was tested by an upward movement. But there is also the blue 300-week moving average, though I use it rather rarely in my analysis, even though it is present on the chart. If we look at the monthly candles, the situation here is much worse than on the Bitcoin chart. Because while on Bitcoin we currently see a green May candle, for Ethereum it's red. And not just red, but with the risk of a bearish engulfing of the April candle. If this happens, then with high probability we will once again head to update the February 2026 low and see Ethereum somewhere around $1,700 to $1,800, given the current price of $2,130. Now let's move on to analyzing the current situation, and these are the daily candles. What do we see here? Here we see that Ethereum broke through the 50-day and 100-day moving averages, was unable to stay above them, and ultimately dropped below all the moving averages, which indicates the strength of the sellers. And even if we break through the 100-day moving average, it could be a false breakout. So we can only speak with some confidence about growth when Ethereum once again consolidates above the 50-day moving average. For now, the priority remains downward. Moreover, the minimum condition for us is to see an engulfing of Friday's bearish candle, but even that is not enough, and at the moment we are not seeing this either. Therefore, I would recommend waiting first of all for the situation with Bitcoin to develop to see where it goes, as well as for Ethereum to consolidate above the 50-day moving average, specifically above the level of $2,270 before considering any purchases. That concludes this review. The next review will be about the stock market. Goodbye.